I'll keep it hush.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Malcolm X was a radical black rights activist more than anything. And while he promoted violence and black nationalism, all he was aching for was well-deserved equality. He also later recanted his belief in black nationalism after witnessing many races pray together in peace.
We're also taught that at any time, anyone in any way inflicts or seeks to inflict violence upon us, we are within our religious rights to retaliate in self-defense to the maximum degree of our ability. We never initiate any violence upon anyone, but if anyone attacks us, we reserve the right to defend ourselves.
W.E.B. Du Bois?
Yes, he always insisted on that pronunciation.
What is life but the attempt of human beings to be happy and contented in a world which with all its ill has a mass of sun and waters, of trees and flowers, of beauty and love?
I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed many more if only they knew they were slaves. I grew up as a neglected weed, having no liberty and no experience of it. I would fight for my liberty so long as my strength lasted. And if the time came for me to go, the Lord would let them take me.
Tubman did lead dozens of slaves to freedom.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind.
Madam C.J. Walker was born Sarah Breedlove on December 23, 1867, on a cotton plantation near Delta, Louisiana. Her parents, Owen and Minerva, were recently freed slaves, and Sarah, who's their fifth child, was the first in her family to be freeborn. Minerva died in 1874, and Owen passed away the following year, both due to unknown causes, and Sarah became an orphan at the age of 7. After her parents' passing, Sarah was sent to live with her sister Lubinia and her brother-in-law. The three moved to Vicksburg, Mississippi in 1887. At age 14, Sarah married a man named Moses McWilliams. On June 6, 1885, Sarah gave birth to a daughter, Alelia. When Moses died 2 years later, Sarah and Alelia moved to St. Louis, where Sarah's brothers had established themselves as barbers. There, Sarah found work as a washerwoman, earning $1.50 a day, enough to send her daughter to the city's public schools. She attended public night school whenever she could. While in St. Louis, Breedlove met her second husband, Charles J. Walker, who worked in advertising and would later help promote her hair care business.
Breedlove developed a scalp disorder that caused her to lose much of her hair, and she began to experiment with both home remedies and store-bought hair care treatments in an attempt to improve her condition. In 1905, Breedlove was hired as a commission agent by Annie Turbo Malone, a successful black hair care product entrepreneur, and she moved to Denver, Colorado. While there, Breedlove's husband, Charles, helped her create advertisements for a hair care treatment for African Americans that she was perfecting. Her husband also encouraged her to use the more recognizable name Madam C.J. Walker, by which she was thereafter known. In 1913, after Walker and Charles divorced, she traveled throughout Latin America and the Caribbean, promoting her business and recruiting others to teach her hair care methods. In 1916, upon returning from her travels, Walker moved to her new townhouse in Harlem. From there, she would continue to operate her business while leaving the day-to-day operations of her factory in Indianapolis to its forelady. She founded philanthropies that included educational scholarships and donations to homes for the elderly, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and the National Conference on Lynching, among other organizations focused on improving the lives of African Americans.
As profits continued to grow, in 1908, Walker opened a factory and a beauty school in Pittsburgh, and by 1910, when Walker transferred her business operation to Indianapolis, the Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company had become widely successful, with profits that were the modern-day equivalent of several $million. In Indianapolis, the company was not only manufactured cosmetics, but trained sales beauticians. These Walker agents became well known throughout the black communities of the United States. In turn, they promoted Walker's philosophy of cleanliness and loveliness as a means of advancing the status of African Americans. An innovator, Walker organized clubs and conventions for her representatives, which recognized not only successful sales, but also philanthropic and educational efforts among African Americans.
Madam C.J. Walker died of hypertension on May 25, 1919, at age 51, at the estate home she had built for herself in Irvington-on-Hudson, New York. At the time of her death, Walker was sole owner of her business, which was valued at more than $1 million. Her personal fortune was estimated at between $600,000 and $700,000. Today, Walker is widely credited as one of the first African women to become a self-made millionaire. In 1927, the Walker Building and Arts Center that Walker had begun work on before her death was opened in Indianapolis. An important African American cultural center for decades, it is now a registered National Historic Landmark.